So this is such like this incredible punctuation mark. We should certainly enjoy this time.
Yeah.
But then projecting forward when the field shrinks. Because you know when the field shrinks, I'm going to get some more airtime, and then more people are going to be paying attention and looking around. And as folks start to converge on different candidates, the Yang Gang is just going to grow, and it's going to be this very distinct flavor. You know, and tonight I have to say, like, they didn't get as much of the flavor as I wanted, but there's a lot more flavor where that came from. I'm a fountain of flavor. And we're going to be able to get increased flavor capsules onto their TV screen. Incredible punctuation. So this is such like this incredible punctuation mark. We should certainly enjoy this time.
Yeah.
But then projecting forward when the field shrinks. Because you know when the field shrinks, I'm going to get some more airtime, and then more people are going to be paying attention and looking around. And as folks start to converge on different candidates, the Yang Gang is just going to grow, and it's going to be this very distinct flavor. You know, and tonight I have to say, like, they didn't get as much of the flavor as I wanted, but there's a lot more flavor where that came from. I'm a fountain of flavor. And we're going to be able to get increased flavor capsules onto their TV screen, on the July debates, and on, and not just the July debates. You know, I'm on CNN this weekend. Like, we've got like all this media, because like, we're at this next level, next to Colbert, and then these debates, and then the rest of these things. I mean, shit, no one knew who the hell Andrew Yang was 18 months ago. And now, like, now I get recognized even when I'm incognito, which blew my mind. I was like, no one's gonna recognize an anonymous Asian man in a hoodie. You know, if I take off the blazer and the rest of it, like, no way. And then someone looks at my face and be like, who Andrew Yang? I'd be like, oh shit. And that's for kind of 18 months, but we're just going to keep on growing and growing. And like that, this field as it constricts, it's going to be better and better for us. I can't wait to keep on making history with you all. So let's take some questions. We're in this intimate context. You can like ask whatever's on your mind.
Good question. Is the dividend taxed?
So the freedom dividend itself would not be taxed, but it might end up pushing other income into a zone where it does get taxed, but the way marginal taxes work. But the freedom dividend itself is not taxed. Oh, yeah, so you get it, then maybe you pay taxes a little bit when you're using it, but you use it. But yeah, it's going to help.
Comment,
sure.
comment. No tie.
Awesome!
Yeah.
All right, what do you guys think about the no tie move?
Yeah.
You know, I was glad not to have it just because, like, I would have noticed the tie, wear them that often, and so if you like had it on, you'd be like, but we reserve the right to wear a tie next time, and that was one of the joys of having like 4 shots at it. We're going to start with no tie and see what that does with the press, because we love messing with the press. We just love pushing a button and see what happens. And apparently Brian Williams was really offended at my sartorial choices tonight.
We call it data.
And I say to you, Brian Williams, your own store. That was a bit of a knock. I don't know. Yeah, question. You know, I had so few questions. And so one of them, you know, when I got asked about China, I was like, oh, should I make some China comment? It's like, oh, I see how this is. So, you know, I had so few questions to choose from, but like I'm pleased that they gave me a chance to air out universal basic income, and then I got to say that again. Because again, the takeaway I wanted people to have is that this man wants to give you money, wants to give you $1,000 a month. It's going to be fixed. I think that message came across, and that made me very, very happy.
Closing was awesome!
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. My closing was awesome. My closing was one of the times, you guys could probably tell, it's like one of the times I actually felt comfortable, because I was like, okay, like I get this time, I know what I'm going to do with it, and then like I can knock it out of the park.
You did!
Thank you. And then like there are like aspects of the rest of the debate where it was like, you know, as you could tell, like, a little bit jarring just watching the ping pong ball between like a few people, and it's like, all right, what's going on? And there were also a few times, FYI, where I did talking, being like, hey, I'd like to add in there, and my mic was like not on. Like it's the sort of thing where it's not like if you start talking, like it all of a sudden like takes over the convo. It's like I was talking and like nothing was happening. And it was like, oh fuck. So that happened a bit too. Though I don't hate the entire media marginalization of Andrew Yang that will now take hold. It's like not the worst thing in the world that happened to us. So it's like it's like and the fact that we have these other bites of the apple. Make it so that like there's gravy out of.
Yo, what's up, guys? So there were a few questions.
I mean, there's so many things. You guys have actually heard.
What were the questions? Can you guys ask the questions again? I saw a few questions on the chat.
I got like 106 policy ideas, but there were
Republicans don't debate. That's true. Am I Yang Gang? Yes. Yeah, for the time being, he like brings to attention a lot of issues that are not being talked about right now. So why would I say that? Because they're not. I mean, Trump's the nominee. But I'm gonna go back to Yang unless you guys have any questions. Other questions? Because they don't debate, dude.
Yeah. Question here. Sure. Beautiful, man. What you didn't hear him. What he said is your substance is like emotional, and that makes me so happy. You know, I actually had I had some like stuff that I could have thrown in about one of the goals is to mainstream the values of this campaign, and then at some point humanize ourselves to a higher degree. It's like a joke that we're starting with the head, and then we're going to move to the body parts over time. But thank you, man. That makes me very happy that you think our substance is emotional. That makes me really appreciative.
Yes.
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 Moving forward, I think a lot of people are going to react to DEI with, it's socialism, it's a handout, etc. And so I guess my major wondering is, to you, what would you say is your biggest, most important policy that isn't DEI?
I think the biggest policy I'd have that's not the freedom dividend would be to redirect our economic measurements to include mental health and life expectancy and affordability and clean air and water and because if you change that framing, then you change everything. And if we keep worshiping the wrong measurements, then we're just going to fall off a cliff. And so it's like a profound and like it would filter to everything. If you said it's like, oh, economic progress actually is measured by whether or not convicts can be reintegrated into society or things like that would be core. So that's like a big idea that is not the freedom dividend. I think would be a huge difference maker. Yes, the women among us. I'm calling a bunch of dudes, and we got yeah, sure thing.
So next debate.
This one.
So next debate, some issues will touch about climate change. They ask other questions. You should jump in to answer the question.
No, I agree. And there were times when I was like, hey, I want to make a contribution to climate change or education or other things, and my mic didn't work. Your mic's actually not on, and so I would just start talking, and the moderators would just ignore, and it doesn't matter. So the moderators have a fair amount of power and authority, including someone in production is on a mic or not. So there is I agree with you that I should be interjecting and making more contributions, and I'll certainly look to do that in the next debate. But there were at least a few times where I tried to do that tonight, where I quite literally felt somewhat it's like sort of mechanically restricted, shall you say?
Leave that to Rob.
Yes. Oh yeah. Come on.
So I wanted to say just thank you for everything you've done for this platform. Thank you for inspiring hope. Thank you for absolutely everything. I know you're an absolutely amazing debater, and you did show tonight, even if they only gave you so much time. Seeing the other candidates and how they kind of bicker and spend a lot of time on the floor with each other, how can Sorry, I'm so nervous. I'm wondering what your views on that are and what your response is and how to move forward from that, because I don't think it's setting a good example for the students of America to see that example of debating in politics. And so I'm wondering sorry.
Oh no, that's so kind. There was like one website that that decided I won the debate, which seems like very likely given that I had such like low, I mean maybe it was like very high substance to word ratio was like a saying we used to use. And I agree with you that like the tenor of that debate is probably not optimal for people to say it's like this is the way that our leadership is defined. And so I would like to see different formats over time, but like that, we have these media companies and these journalists. So one of the things I've discovered over the last number of months, like the limitations of cable news in particular, and in many ways these debates are like cable news is spread out. You know what I mean? It's like, how does cable news function? It's like very, very fast interviews where you just feel like blah 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 blah. Here's this and that out. And I've now done a dozen or more, like 20 of these things. You go in and it's like an assembly line. And then this debate format is essentially like an assembly line again. And it's like spread out among various candidates. And like, as you can tell, like I'm not as natural like an assembly line participant as some of the other folks. And and part of it is like, well, if I'm going to be an assembly line, I should probably become like better at the assembly line, which is something that like I'm I'm very excited to do. But then there's part of it. It's like, hey, why are we using the assembly line in this way? So the goal is that as this field shrinks, then hopefully you can expand. Though I'm very aware of the fact that our campaign would not be where it is today if not for people listening to literally like 2-hour conversations or like hour conversations, or even reading a fucking book. I know that that's like been in many ways like the way that this campaign has come about. And then in a way it's like, how do you translate that substance into the assembly line? And that is a challenge that we will overcome together. And I confess that like tonight highlighted the extremity of that challenge in a way that I had not even understood. And I feel like I'm pretty savvy, so most of the time I'm like, okay, I get it. But like this time was a whole another level. It's like, how do you translate it into such like an incredibly brief window? Thank you. That's a great question. Yeah, coming up.
Hi. What policies do you have that you would attract more women to your campaign, or would you like us to be sharing with others?
Also, thank you for the question. So, and I'll just use my wife as like the reference point here. So, if you think about women's issues, like a lot of them, I think most of us here would agree on. It's like around reproductive rights, paid family leave, like equal pay for equal work. But there's like the truth is that women do the vast majority of the unrecognized, uncompensated work in communities every day. And then when you look at economic arguments, the Democratic Party just goes to higher minimum wage. And one of the things I would say is like higher minimum wage does nothing for my wife who's at home with our 2 boys, one of whom is autistic. And so like we have to take women's rights to include rewarding and recognizing all of the work that is being done in our homes and communities every day that we know women are doing. And that's not a minimum wage, it's just putting money into people's hands and saying that this is all work. That, caregiving is work, parenting is work. Like, obviously, like, if you're taking care of like an ailing loved one, it's some like the most brutal, isolating, difficult work of all. And so like the goal is that women see that economic resources in everyone's hands actually is an incredibly empowering thing for women in particular, because we know that women get marginalized in the workforce and harassed, and like if we put this money into people's hands, into women's hands, then women will be able to improve their situations. Like the waitress at the diner who's like getting harassed by her boss, she's getting $1,000 a month. She can be like, keep your hands to yourself, asshole. Like, I'll quit this job and like, I'm not gonna like start for it. You know, it's like, you know, I mean, what other policy can we bless is going to like make that boss keep his hands to himself? Like, except by putting money into the woman's hands, and she can like, you know, tell him to fuck off without like fearing for her own survival. All right. Man, Zach says this is the last question, but I'm going to take selfies. We're going to hang out, and you know, I'd love to meet you all. And so I think there's a woman waving the American flag, which makes me, it's like,
Yes.
oh yes, yeah, come on.
Okay. Okay.
Alright, first of all, Andrew, I am Samir Zakir's friend. So, high five. I'm the LA contingent. So first of all, we brought a bunch of these hats for you and for everybody. Ride TV, it's an equestrian TV channel. Equine therapy, equine sports. This is for you, Drew. And a bunch of you guys get it. But we think you rock. First of all, Samir is a huge supporter. We're a huge supporter. I've got David Grossman and you are, you know, of the, you know, of the people. You've got this amazing integrity. You know, you might have talked about this before I just got here, because I got here. You talked a little bit about your $1,000 initiative, and you're the math candidate. I don't know if you talked about that earlier tonight. All right. Well, you know, I just want to say that we are here for you, and we are going to be your grassroots people all over the country. All right? No, but wait. I want to end with one question, because there were some amazing questions. We know that, you know, you are, you know, we love your succinctness on your questions that you did answer, because you just get to the point. You weren't BS, right? You got to the point. So I would love to know, and I know they talked about the question on what would you do to support women, but, you know, what is your position? What would you do on your first day as President of the United States, President Yang?
To support women?
No, in general.
Oh, just in general. But I said it earlier tonight. I just got $1,000 a month. That's danger we can actually make happen for the American people. It's like, you know, we put economic resource into your hands. You can solve your own problems. The best thing we can do. Everything else we're talking about is not as good. And the great thing is, cash is very, very hard to demonize. You know, it's like it's like, oh, that cash is going to hurt you. It's like, no, it's not. You know, it's bipartisan. You know, Republicans like it, conservatives like it, libertarians like it, independents like it, Democrats and progressives like it. There's no reason we can't make this happen. Cash is the answer. Everyone knows that after I'm president in 2021, it's all going to be all because of the freedom dividend. And so the first thing they're going to do is they're going to go to Congress and say, hey guys, it's time. Let's make this dividend happen. And then the magic will descend from the great in the sky. And you know, we'll do our lives, make stronger, healthier, and then we'll be like, holy crap, we did it, Yang Gang, we did it. Hey guys, I want to introduce Zach, my campaign manager. You probably have seen him in our stuff.
Yeah. In the background. Hi everyone, thank you for being here. Let's give it up for Andrew. We love you. So, a couple of things. You can hear in his voice he's a little under the weather, and he's up at 6 a.m. tomorrow, so I'm pulling him off now. But he's here for selfies. You guys are waiting. We love you, so make sure you get to see him and get to take a picture. Thoughts on the debate from the campaign management standpoint. We're not necessarily thrilled with MSNBC across all the debates for any candidate. So let me say this. We are not politicians. But we got a little bit marginalized. We had a little bit of a, let's call it they had some home field advantage we did not like. But let's say maybe we went 3 and out in the first possession, but let me tell you this. We're going to go for the Hail Mary going forward. So that's the playing game. We're not going to stop fighting. We love you guys. Thank you all. Thank you.
I didn't know they cut him off. That makes sense.
Yo, what's up, guys? No, MSNBC does not handle all the debates. CNN will have. So I'm actually working. I don't think this is actually public yet, but there's another debate that's going on that's organized by a group that you've heard of, everyone who's watching this has heard of. And both CNN and MSNBC are bidding for the debate right now, and I'm going to heavily advise against them doing it with MSNBC because it was completely biased against not just Yang, but like they had very clearly favored candidates who they were trying to, who they gave more airtime to. But yeah, at a rooftop in Miami, and about to end this stream, but